The universe was endless, dark, and cold. Stars shined far away, but between them stretched nothing but black silence. In that silence, an alien fleet moved like a sharp arrow. Dozens of ships glided together, their silver hulls glowing under distant suns. Inside the command ship, the alien commander sat with confidence. His people ruled many systems. To him, humans were still children of space. Weak, small, easy to control if needed. His fleet had crushed stronger enemies before. If they ever faced humans, he thought it would be no challenge. But tonight, the stars gave him a lesson he would never forget. "Contact!" shouted an officer, breaking the calm. "Unidentified object ahead." The commander leaned forward. His 4 eyes locked on the screen. A shape appeared in the black. A massive ship, dark as shadow. It floated silently, not moving, not signaling. No transponders, no familiar design. "Begin scan," the commander ordered. His voice was steady, but deep inside, something uneasy stirred. The officers activated their scanners. Invisible beams reached out across the void and touched the strange vessel. Normally, scans gave clear information in seconds: shield type, engine strength, weapons, even the number of crew members. But this time, the screen flickered. "Strange," whispered the officer. "Data unstable, readings not making sense." The commander frowned. "Clarify." The officer's claws tapped the glowing controls. "First scan shows light armor. Next scan shows armor stronger than any Empire's battleship. First it reads small crew, then thousands. Now it says no life signs at all." The bridge fell into silence. The commander's eyes narrowed. "Run the scan again." Another officer increased the power. Blue energy beams struck the silent ship. For a moment, the display grew clearer. Then symbols scrambled, alarms buzzed, and screens filled with static. "Sir," cried the first officer, "the scanners, they are shutting down. The ship is resisting us." "Resisting?" The commander's chest tightened. "Machines do not resist." But before he could say more, a low vibration passed through the alien ship. The lights flickered. A pulse of energy rippled from the unknown warship, spreading across space like a silent wave. The officers panicked. "Energy spike detected." On the screen, the dark ship slowly began to glow. Lines of light appeared along its hull, crawling like veins. They were not ordinary lights. They pulsed, alive, like the heartbeat of some enormous creature. "Magnify," the commander barked. The image grew larger. The alien crew stared, their faces pale. The ship was unlike anything they had seen. No sharp edges, no fragile towers. Only smooth black armor with glowing marks that shifted like writing, as if the vessel itself was aware of being watched. The officer swallowed. His voice was weak. "Sir, the computer matches it to Earth." The word hit the bridge like a thunderbolt. "Impossible," shouted the commander. "Humans cannot build this. They are too primitive." But the computer repeated the match. The energy signature was human. The design, though unrecognizable, carried fragments of Earth's technology, yet twisted into something far greater. The commander felt a chill run through him. He had always believed humans were small, but this was no small thing. "What of the crew?" he asked quickly. The officer stared at the data. "Sir, this is the most impossible part. The scanners cannot see them. Sometimes it shows many, sometimes none. It is like they are hiding, as if the ship itself shields them from us." The commander gripped his chair tightly. His mind raced. Ships did not do that. Ships were machines, not ghosts. And yet, here stood proof that something had changed. Another alarm rang out. "Warning! Unknown presence detected inside the hull." The commander turned sharply. "Presence?" The officer hesitated, his face pale. "Sir, the data calls it an intelligence. Not crew, not computer, something else. The ship is alive." The words echoed in the room. Alive. The commander's blood turned cold. His people had fought many battles. They had seen war machines, superweapons, even ships controlled by cloned minds. But never a living ship. On the screen, the human warship's lights pulsed again. For a second, its outline seemed to shift like it was breathing. Its silent body stood against the stars, calm, patient, and watching. "Sir," whispered an officer, "should we fire?" The commander could not answer. His instincts screamed no. Something told him firing at this ship would be the last mistake of his life. The silence dragged on, heavy and sharp. The crew waited for orders. The strange warship floated calmly, as if mocking them. Finally, the commander spoke, his voice low. "We should never have scanned it." His 4 eyes stayed locked on the glowing shape. "We have awakened something far beyond us." And for the first time in his long career, the proud commander of the Empire felt true fear. The alien bridge was silent after the failed scan. Only the sound of alarms slowly fading echoed through the command ship. Officers exchanged nervous glances, but no one dared to speak first. The commander's eyes were fixed on the dark warship that glowed faintly in the distance. It was quiet, too quiet. "Report," the commander finally ordered. One officer hesitated before answering. "Sir, all scanners are offline. They refuse to restart. Systems act as if they have been blinded." "Blinded?" The commander's voice was sharp. "Yes, sir." "The ship?" The officer swallowed. It pushed back, as if it knew we were watching. The crew shifted uneasily. Ships were not supposed to know anything. Yet this one did. Another officer spoke. His hands trembled above his console. "Sir, I ran secondary analysis before the scanners failed. The readings suggest an energy source beyond our measurement. Not nuclear, not plasma, not anything we know." The commander leaned closer. "Explain." "It is like a star, sir. Contained, controlled, but alive." The bridge went silent again. A contained star inside a warship? Impossible. No empire had ever built such a thing. Not even the oldest races of the galaxy. The commander's claws dug into the arms of his chair. "You are telling me this human ship carries the heart of a sun inside it?" The officer whispered, "Yes, sir. And more. The ship does not just hold it. The ship feeds on it." A shiver passed through the crew. For the first time, the proud soldiers of the Empire felt like children staring at something they could not understand. Suddenly, a sharp beep broke the silence. Another officer shouted, "Movement detected. The warship's hull is shifting." On the screen, the dark ship's armor rippled like water. Panels moved and rearranged themselves. New shapes appeared along the sides, strange structures glowing with blue light. "It is reconfiguring," cried the officer. Weapons officers gripped their controls, ready to fire. The commander raised a hand sharply. "Hold!" His voice was cold. "Do not provoke it." The alien crew watched as the human warship slowly unfolded its hidden form. Long towers extended, each one humming with restrained energy. Then, in one terrifying moment, every light along its hull lit up at once, dozens, then hundreds, like the awakening of an ancient beast. The officers gasped. "Sir," whispered the youngest crew member, "this is not a warship. This is a monster." The commander's eyes narrowed, but deep inside he agreed. The computer, still barely functional, managed to spit out fragments of data. Weapon readings, energy levels, shield measurements. But each one ended with the same warning. Error. Values exceed limit. No numbers. No categories. Just impossibility. The commander understood what it meant. This was not power his people could measure. This was power that belonged to something far greater. Another officer turned pale. "Sir, if it fires even once, our fleet will not survive." Before the commander could respond, a deep vibration rolled through space. The alien ships shook lightly as if struck by an invisible wave. The human warship had released another pulse. But this one was different. The crew gasped as their screens lit up. Strange symbols flooded the displays. Alien writing none of them had ever seen. The letters twisted and changed, like they were alive. "What is this?" cried an officer. The commander stared at the symbols. Somehow, he felt as if the ship itself was speaking. Not in words, not in sound, but in presence. It was not only a warship. It was something more. Something that thought. Something that watched. Something that waited. "Sir," whispered the communications officer, "our system just identified the signal. It is not random. It is a warning." The commander froze. "Translate." The officer shook his head. "No need, sir. It is not language. It is feeling. It is saying, 'We see you.'" The commander's throat went dry. He felt as though the warship's cold blue lights were staring directly into his soul. Around him, the officers whispered in fear. How can humans build this? How can they control it? Why would they create such a thing? But deep inside, the commander realized something worse. Perhaps humans did not control it. Perhaps the ship was human. A new kind of life born from Earth's hunger to survive. He looked again at the glowing monster floating in the void. His empire's fleet surrounded it, yet for the first time numbers did not matter. "Sir," said an officer, voice shaking, "should we retreat?" The commander did not answer at first. His eyes stayed locked on the silent ship. Retreating now might save them, but it might also mark them as prey. Finally he spoke, his voice low and heavy. "Not yet. If this is what humans are building, the galaxy must know. But understand this." He turned to his officers, his eyes filled with something rare, fear. "We are standing before a power no empire should ever face." And as the human warship pulsed once more, sending ripples across the endless dark, every alien on the bridge understood the same truth. The real mistake was not scanning the ship. The real mistake was underestimating the humans. The alien bridge was filled with heavy silence. Every officer's eyes were locked on the glowing human warship. Its blue lights pulsed slowly, like the heartbeat of a giant beast. No weapons had fired. No missiles had launched. Yet the alien fleet already felt cornered. The commander's voice broke the silence. "Run lifeform scans. I want to know who is inside that monster." "Yes, sir," replied the officer, though his hands trembled as he activated the systems. A green wave swept across the screen, passing over the human vessel. Normally, such a scan revealed everything: species type, life signs, biological heat, even emotional state. But this time, the screen showed nothing. "Report," the commander said sharply. The officer hesitated. "Sir, the ship is empty." The bridge erupted in whispers. "Empty? Impossible. A warship this size could not function without hundreds of crew. Even with advanced AIs, some form of life should appear." The commander's jaw tightened. "Run it again. Full power." Another scan. Stronger. Brighter. The screen flickered, and for a brief second, dozens of life signs appeared, scattered across the ship like stars in a sky. Then, just as quickly, they vanished. The officer gasped. "They were there. I saw them." "What did you see?" the commander demanded. I cannot explain, sir." The system showed human life, but their signals moved, as if they were slipping away, hiding from the scan. The crew froze. Hiding? No life signs had ever done that before. Scans were absolute. They pierced armor, shields, even cloaking devices. But this was different. A weapons officer spoke nervously. "It is like they knew we were searching for them, and they chose not to be found." The commander's eyes narrowed. Living beings do not choose to avoid scanners. That is impossible. Another officer whispered, "Then maybe they are not living beings, sir. Maybe they are something else." The commander ignored the comment, though his heart raced. He knew what his crew feared. The humans had created soldiers who could vanish from detection. Soldiers who could hide even when surrounded by machines built to see everything. A sudden chime echoed across the bridge. The communication officer looked up in shock. "Sir, something is connecting to us." The commander turned. "From where?" The officer's voice shook. "From inside the human warship." The crew froze as the main screen flickered. Static filled the air, then strange shapes appeared, blurred silhouettes. Not machines, not data, but human-like figures standing in the darkness of the ship. Gasps filled the bridge. Visual contact confirmed, the officer whispered. But they are not solid. They are shadows. The screen showed moving figures, their faces hidden. Sometimes they looked human, other times their forms stretched unnaturally, like smoke twisting into shapes. Each time the image grew clearer, the ship pulsed with light, and the forms dissolved again. One officer stepped back in fear. They are not crew. They are ghosts. The commander clenched his teeth. There are no ghosts in space. Yet even he struggled to believe his own words. The images returned, closer this time. One shadow leaned toward the screen. Its outline sharpened for a moment, revealing a human face. Cold eyes stared back at the aliens. Then the figure spoke. But it was not words. It was silence. A silence so heavy it pressed on the chest of every alien in the room. The crew gasped for air, as if the shadow had stolen their breath. Then the screen went black. The lights of the alien bridge flickered. Systems shut down for 3 long seconds before power returned. "Sir," the officer whispered, voice shaking. "Whatever that was, it was inside our ship. It entered through the scanners." The commander's claws dug into his chair. The humans were not only hiding inside their warship, they could reach out. They could cross through signals. They could step into machines that were not their own. Another officer whispered the thought none dared to speak aloud. "Sir, what if the crew is not human at all? What if the ship itself is their body?" The commander's chest tightened. The idea was terrifying, yet it explained everything. No crew because the ship was the crew. The shadows were not ghosts, they were fragments of something larger. Something alive. Something human and yet more than human. The communication officer swallowed hard. "Sir, message incoming. Not sound. Just text." "Show me," the commander ordered. On the screen, words appeared in the alien language. Cold. Direct. "We see you. We know you. Do not search again." The bridge went silent. Every officer felt the same icy fear. The commander rose slowly from his chair. His voice was low, but each word carried weight. "This is no ordinary enemy. These are not men inside a machine. This ship is a living army. And it does not want us here." Outside, the human warship pulsed once more. Its blue veins glowed brighter, almost mocking the alien fleet that surrounded it. For the first time in their proud history, the aliens realized they were not the hunters anymore. They were prey. The alien commander stood frozen. His crew whispered in fear around him. The last message still glowed on the screen. "We see you. We know you. Do not search again." The bridge was silent, heavy like a tomb. Every officer felt the weight of those words. They were not just a warning. They were a threat. The commander finally spoke. "Bring shields to full strength. Arm weapons, but do not fire without my order." The crew obeyed quickly, hands shaking on their controls. Blue shields shimmered across the alien fleet, and heavy cannons rotated to face the human warship. Yet the silent vessel did not move. It only pulsed softly, as if breathing. "Sir," said the weapons officer, voice trembling, "should we retreat?" The commander shook his head slowly. "No, we will test them first." A smaller alien cruiser moved forward, its weapons charged. Its captain sent a tight beam message. "We are not afraid. Identify yourselves or be destroyed." For a moment, nothing happened. Then the warship's hull shimmered with blue fire. A soft hum vibrated through space. Suddenly, a thin pulse of light shot outward. Not a beam, not a missile, just a faint ripple. Touched the cruiser. In less than 3 seconds, the alien ship's shields collapsed. Metal groaned as if it were melting. Then, without any explosion, the cruiser vanished. It did not break apart. It did not burn. It simply disappeared, erased from existence. The alien bridge went silent. Officers stared at the empty space where the cruiser had been. Nothing remained. No wreckage. No sparks. Not even dust. The weapons officer's mouth hung open. It is gone. The commander's throat tightened. His fleet had destroyed many enemies before. Ships always left remains. But this was something else. The human warship had not just destroyed the cruiser. It had removed it from reality. Another officer whispered, "One pulse." One single pulse did that. The crew's fear rose like a tide. Whispers filled the air. How can we fight this? What if we are next? The commander slammed his claws against the chair. Silence! His voice echoed across the bridge. We are not cowards. They gave us a warning. We will listen. But deep inside, he knew the truth. This was not a warning. This was a demonstration. The human warship had not spoken in words, but its message was clear. Do not test us again. The commander's eyes stayed locked on the glowing vessel. Its lights pulsed calmly, mocking his entire fleet. They erased one ship, he thought, only to show what they can do. The communication officer gasped. Sir, incoming transmission, again. The screen flickered. This time, no shadows appeared. Instead, a simple image filled the display. A star burning bright, then collapsing into nothing. The meaning was clear. Another officer whispered, That is what they will do to us if we continue. The commander's chest tightened. He had fought in wars across the galaxy. He had seen empires fall. But never before had he faced an enemy who needed no army, no fleets, no allies. Just one ship. His voice was low, almost a whisper. They do not want to kill us. If they did, we would already be gone. The crew stared at him in disbelief. They gave us one chance, the commander continued. His eyes flicked to the vanished cruiser's empty position. That was their first warning. There will not be a second. The weapons officer leaned closer. Sir, if they are this strong, why have they not attacked? Why do they hold back? The commander thought deeply. His 4 eyes narrowed. The answer came cold and heavy. Because they do not see us as a threat. To them, we are insects, and insects are not worth the effort unless they bite. The crew shuddered at his words. On the main screen, the warship's lights pulsed again, brighter this time. The hum returned, rolling across space like a storm. For a second, every alien ship's lights dimmed. Engines flickered, weapons froze. Then, just as suddenly, the power returned. The crew gasped. They can shut us down at will. The commander gritted his teeth. His pride told him to fight, but his instincts screamed to run. He knew his fleet had no chance. He raised his hand. Transmit message to the fleet. Hold fire. All ships will remain at distance. No one approaches without my order. The crew quickly obeyed. Relief showed on their faces, though fear still lingered. The commander leaned back in his chair, staring at the silent giant before him. In his heart, he knew the truth. The human warship had only revealed a fraction of its power. If they wished, they could wipe out his fleet with a thought. And yet, they hadn't. That was the most terrifying part. The first warning had been given. The next move belonged to him. The alien fleet floated in silence. Every eye on every ship watched the empty space where their cruiser had once been. One pulse, one faint ripple of light, and it was gone. No wreckage, no flame, no survivors. On the command bridge, the crew whispered nervously. It erased them. Not even debris left. That was no weapon we know. The commander stood tall, but his hands tightened around his chair. His voice was steady, though his heart raced. They have shown us their strength. Now we see if they show us their limits. His words brought no comfort. On the screen, the human warship remained still, glowing softly. Its blue veins shimmered, calm as if it had done nothing at all. Yet everyone on the alien bridge knew it was watching. Sir, said the sensor officer, his voice shaking, there is a new reading, energy building at the ship's core. The commander leaned forward. How much? The officer stared at the numbers, his face pale. I cannot measure. The scale ends before it reaches the top. It is beyond everything. The lights on the warship brightened. Its armor shifted again, smooth black panels sliding apart. A new structure rose from the ship's back, long and sharp like the spine of some enormous beast. The hum in space grew louder, vibrating through every alien ship. Weapons officers flinched. "Sir, that is a cannon. It is charging." The commander's heart sank. This was no ordinary cannon. This was something else. Something impossible. He gave the order. "Raise all shields. Maximum power." Across the fleet, shields glowed brighter. Energy poured into them until they shone like suns. But inside, every officer knew it was useless. If one pulse could erase a cruiser, what would this weapon do? The warship's cannon glowed brighter, brighter still, until its light covered the stars. The alien crew shielded their eyes, their screens struggling to adjust. The hum became a roar, and then nothing. The weapon stopped glowing. The cannon folded back into the ship. The hum died away. Silence returned. Confusion filled the bridge. What happened? Why did it stop? The sensor officer blinked at his screen. "Sir, it did not stop. It fired." The commander turned sharply. "Explain." The officer's voice cracked. "It fired, but not at us. It fired into the void." The main screen flickered. Far away, where the weapon had pointed, a star itself collapsed. The crew gasped as the burning giant shrank in seconds, folding inward until it vanished, leaving only a dark hole spinning in the void. "A star," whispered one officer. "They destroyed a star." Another officer shook his head. "No, they erased it." The bridge filled with horror. The humans had not fired at ships. They had not fired at planets. They had fired at the universe itself, an unmade part of it. The commander's voice was low. That was their message. If they can erase a star, they can erase us without effort. The crew trembled. Their proud empire had crushed many rivals, but now they realized they were ants before a storm. This was not war. This was annihilation waiting to happen. The communication officer's console blinked. "Sir, message incoming." "Put it on screen," the commander ordered. The screen filled with glowing text, written in their language again. "One demonstration is enough. Leave. Do not follow. Do not search. Or you will see the weapon again." The words burned into their minds. This was no bluff. They had already seen what the weapon could do. The weapons officer whispered, "Sir, if they can erase stars, then no empire is safe." The commander closed his eyes for a moment. His pride, his training, his years of victories all felt small now. "No empire is safe," he repeated softly. He opened his eyes again, hard and sharp. "Transmit to the fleet, hold fire. No one provokes them again. Prepare retreat." The crew obeyed with relief, though fear still clouded their faces. Before they could finish, the warship pulsed once more. Its lights blazed brighter than ever, covering the screen in blue fire. For a moment, the alien fleet thought it would strike. But instead, the light faded. The warship returned to silence, drifting like a shadow against the stars. The commander's voice was heavy. That was not their full power. That was only a glimpse. If we push them again, it will be the end of us. The crew nodded in silence, fear etched into their faces. For the first time in his life, the commander felt his empire's power was meaningless. Against humans, against this warship, numbers and weapons meant nothing. The impossible weapon had spoken without words, and its message was clear: do not test humanity's wrath. The alien fleet drifted in stunned silence. Behind them, the light of the erased star still echoed through their sensors. A star that no longer existed, swallowed into nothing by a single shot from the human warship. On the command bridge, the crew was pale and speechless. The hum of machines sounded louder than ever in the silence. No one dared to speak until the commander broke the heavy air. "They have shown us the weapon," he said slowly. His 4 eyes were locked on the dark ship ahead. "Now, we wait for their message." The crew shivered at his words. The warship floated motionless, its blue veins pulsing faintly like the calm heartbeat of a predator. For long minutes, nothing happened. The alien fleet stayed on edge, weapons ready, though deep down they all knew weapons meant nothing anymore. Then, without warning, every alien screen flickered. Lines of strange symbols appeared, glowing and shifting across their controls. Alarms rang as communication systems overloaded. Officers scrambled, but no command could stop it. "Sir," cried the communications officer. "It is them. They are inside our systems again." The commander clenched his jaw. "Let it through. Do not resist." The screen before them went black. Then a single line appeared, written perfectly in their own language. "We are not your enemy. Do not force us to become one." The words struck deeper than any weapon. Gasps filled the bridge. An officer whispered, "Sir, they speak like us." The commander leaned forward. "It is not translation. It is intent. They know how to speak so we understand. That means they know us." The crew grew uneasy. If humans could speak directly to their machines, if they could touch minds across systems, then what else could they do? More words appeared on the screen, slow and deliberate. "You scan what you do not understand. You point weapons at what you fear. That path leads only to extinction." The commander's heart pounded. It was not just a warning. It was judgment. Another officer whispered, "Sir, it is like they are reading our thoughts. They know exactly what we did." The commander could not deny it. Every move they had made, the scans, the weapons, the challenge, all of it had been watched. The human ship had seen everything, maybe even before they did it. The message continued, "We do not seek war. We do not seek conquest. We seek silence. Let us have it and you may keep your empire. Deny us, and you will vanish as your cruiser did." The words glowed with cold finality. The crew shifted nervously, some whispering prayers in their alien tongue. The commander stared at the text, his chest heavy. He had spent his life fighting wars, building victories. But this was not war. This was standing before something too far above them to challenge. Suddenly, the screen flickered again. The glowing words faded, replaced by a single image. The crew gasped. It was Earth, a planet of blue oceans and green lands, spinning calmly in space. The image was so clear it felt alive. Beneath it, new words appeared. "Protect what is ours, and you will never see us. Threaten it, and you will never see again." The commander's breath caught. This was the heart of the humans' message. They did not want galactic conquest. They did not want alien empires. They wanted one thing above all: protection for their world. The officer whispered, "They built this monster not to conquer, but to guard." The bridge was silent. For the first time, they began to understand. Humans were not weak. Humans were not primitive. Humans were dangerous precisely because they would burn stars just to keep their home safe. The commander stood slowly. His voice was firm but heavy. "Transmit to the fleet. Stand down. Lower weapons. We will show them no more threats." The crew obeyed at once, relieved but still terrified. Weapons powered down. Shields dimmed. The alien fleet went still in the void. On the screen, Earth's image faded. Only the dark warship remained, drifting like a silent sentinel. Then, for the first time, a voice filled the bridge. It was not text, not symbols. It was sound. Deep, calm, human. "Next time," it said, "there will be no warning." The words vibrated through the ship, through their bones. It was not shouted. It was not angry. It was calm, too calm. And that calmness made it more terrifying than any roar. The voice faded. The warship's lights dimmed again. Slowly, the massive vessel turned, moving away into the dark. Its shadow stretched across the alien fleet until finally, it vanished into the endless stars. The commander lowered his head. "Message received," he whispered. And on every ship, every officer, every soldier knew the same truth. Humanity did not beg for respect. They demanded it. The galaxy would remember this night. The alien fleet did not chase the warship. They could not. After the final message, the humans had turned away, drifting into the darkness like a shadow returning to its den. No one dared to follow. The alien commander stood on his bridge, staring at the empty stars where the ship had vanished. His hands trembled, though he hid it well. His officers waited silently, afraid even to breathe too loudly. At last, the commander spoke. "We are alive because they chose it. Do not forget this." The crew nodded, each face pale with fear. They had seen fleets destroyed before. They had seen planets burned. But never had they seen an enemy that could erase a star just to make a point. The retreat order was given. Slowly, the alien fleet turned away. Engines burned weakly, as if even the ships themselves were reluctant to move, afraid of waking the beast again. Not until they crossed many systems did the crew finally breathe easier. But fear never left them. The Council's meeting. Weeks later, deep inside the Empire's capital, the High Council gathered. Leaders from across the alien worlds sat in silence as the commander gave his report. His voice was steady, but every word carried the weight of what he had seen. He told them of the scanners that failed. He told them of the shadows inside the ship. He told them of the cruiser that vanished. And he told them of the impossible weapon that erased a star. The chamber was filled with gasps, murmurs, and denial. Some council members laughed bitterly. A story. Nothing more. Humans are weak. But then the recordings played. The council chamber grew quiet as they saw the blue pulse that consumed the cruiser. They watched a star collapse into nothing. And finally, they heard the calm human voice whisper, "Next time, there will be no warning." Silence. Heavy. Crushing. One council elder rose slowly, her eyes wide. "If this is true, then humanity is not prey. They are predators. And we have stared into the teeth of their defense." The chamber fell into chaos. Some shouted for war, claiming they must strike Earth before more ships like that were built. Others shouted for peace, saying one warship had already proven what would happen if they tried. The commander only said one thing: "We do not start a war we cannot win." The council listened, and for once they agreed. Whispers across the galaxy. News spread quickly. In markets, in starports, in mining colonies, whispers carried from ear to ear. They say humans built a living warship. They say it erased a star. They say it speaks in silence, and you feel it in your bones. They say the galaxy should never anger Earth. Stories grew with each telling. Some claimed humans had fleets of such ships. Others claimed the warship was the first of a new species, half machine, half human. Even those who did not believe felt the unease. For if even one story was true, then humanity was no longer to be ignored. The human silence. Back on Earth's orbit, the warship rested quietly. No more warnings, no more weapons. Its lights dimmed as if sleeping, watching over the planet below. Inside Earth's governments, no grand announcement was made. No humans boasted about the ship's power. They did not broadcast threats. They did not brag. They stayed silent. And that silence was louder than any declaration. Because silence meant patience. Silence meant they did not fear anyone. Silence meant they would only rise when threatened. And when they did, the galaxy knew the cost. The commander's reflection. Alone in his quarters, far from the council chamber, the alien commander stared out into the stars. He had fought all his life believing strength ruled the galaxy. Whoever had the biggest fleets, the strongest weapons, the greatest numbers, won. But now he knew better. Humans had taught him a new law. True power was not numbers. True power was fear. The kind of fear that made entire fleets retreat without a battle. The kind of fear that made an empire's council tremble at a single voice. And above all, the kind of fear that came not from shouting, but from silence. He whispered to himself, "We thought them children of space, but they are the watchers in the dark. And the galaxy will remember this night." The galaxy remembers. Generations later, across alien taverns, academies, and war councils, the tale would still be told. Not as a story of battle, but as a story of survival. The night the aliens scanned a human warship. The night they realized their mistake. The night they learned humanity was not to be measured by numbers, but by the shadows of ships that breathed like monsters in the void. Some called it myth. Some called it prophecy. But all agreed on one thing. When you see the blue lights pulsing in the dark, you look away. Because that is not just a warship. That is humanity watching. and humanity never gives a second warning.